Welcome to DEIJ Hot Takes. My name is Daryl Sinclair, and this is the podcast where we explore bold and transformative ideas shaping diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice work today. In this episode, we are joined by Cora Yang, the Director of Student Innovation Lab and EdTech Coach at Chinese International School in Hong Kong. Cora, thank you so much for making time to join us today. Please, if you could share with us the DEIJ Hot Take that guides your work.
Hi, Daryl. Thanks a lot for having me. And so my hot take is we must ensure student opportunity and the thinking as we engage with AI.
Okay, so thank you. I've been looking forward to this one because AI is now being implemented more and more systematically in schools. And the concerns around opportunity, thinking, equity are becoming more distinct. Could you please take us through your examples of what opportunity and what thinking means in this context? Why you feel this is a hot take? Why is this important? And how do you make this happen in the work that you've been doing?
So I think one of the biggest concerns that people, especially educators, are thinking about at this moment is AI has been doing students' work. And I have been to through different like IB schools, and in IB, their baseline, which is going to be if AI is replacing students' learning, you cannot use AI. So I guess this is one of the most concerning issues for educators to think about how students can use AI in a more ethical way and use AI to support their learning instead of pretend they are learning. And so I think this, for me, I think it's quite important. And so when it comes to AI at this point, I know this year, a lot of people started talking about AI literacy. And the part of the reason, because if you know the limitation about AI, then you know how it works, you know the limitation, and then you know how to use AI to avoid a lot of limitations and to really use its advantages. So for students, there are a lot of data. If you could just check out different research papers and with different like survey reports, and you can find that actually students are using it already. But because they're young people, they're open-minded, they could embrace a lot of new technologies. However, a lot of them don't know how to use it in the right way. So I think it's quite important as us, as educators, to guide students how to use AI. And so part of the thing is how we can support students to use AI to support their learning instead of replacing their learning. AI has never been a shortcut. AI should be some of the tools, some of the platforms to leverage their learning. So I think that's why it's quite important.
That's really, really good because I strongly align with that in the idea that AI should be used collaboratively with human thinking to take it even further. So you've been doing some brilliant projects this past year. If you could share a little bit with us about that and how you have ensured student thinking in the projects you've been doing, what does that look like?
Okay, so I founded the Student Innovation Lab in the past summer, and so we offer students different opportunities where they really can explore their interests. And one of the strengths we were working on, which is called AI Innovators. And so this really highlights AI as a new form of the labor for students to work on. And so pretty much the idea is we have teamwork, we have group 4 or 5 students where they explore the common interests, and then they, with the big SDG umbrella, and they choose one SDG go work on. And eventually, with the support of AI, they do a lot of research. They find the data, analyze on the data, and they find very niche markets where they can work on. And so I have one group of students. They were thinking about the health and the well-beings and SDG goal number 3. And then they thought about how we can find a very niche market, a small problem, and a more detailed, concrete problem we can solve to. Eventually, they read through different articles and they go through different data analysis. Eventually, they found with the truck drivers, and because of the nature of the job. So a lot of times with a long hour driving, they tend to get very tired and they would have car accident rate, which is higher than normal car accident rate. And this is a whole idea they came up by themselves, but with the support of AI because they did all of the research. And after this, they want to get the first hand, like the evidence and the data instead of everything got it from AI and read it from other places. Then they found the connections where they can actually interview the truck drivers. And which I find it's quite interesting because we're in Hong Kong, we don't have a lot of truck drivers, and this international schools usually kids would have more exclusive social cycle. And so they really use any connection they have. They found quite a few truck drivers to interview them. And so before the interview, they were talking about interview questions because, to be honest, none of us used to be truck drivers, and I think they don't get a lot of chances to have the contact with them. So they came up with a list of the questions, which at the beginning the version was a little bit off ground, and we thought you couldn't really get what exact data you want. And then they use Flink K-12, which is school verified platform at CIS. And so they use Flint's help to finalize and to kind of just improve the question, make sure that this question could collect exact data they want. And
Right.
after that, they did all of the interview. I know that they did the interview over the night, midnight, because of time difference. They found the truck drivers in the States as well. And that's quite interesting. After this, they find one way they can support and help those truck drivers and keep them safe is to create a dash camera, and which can analyze your facial expression, and especially like the distance of your eyelids and how you yawn, your face when you look tired, and will give the warning to the truck drivers.
Mm.
And so at this point, we're like, that's a really good idea, but how are we going to make this work? Because the whole program is going to end in 3 days. And then here chips in as AI because the kids, they do know a little bit about coding, but none of us has very strong computer science background. And with those data training, thinking about how we can do it, it seems the 3D is going to be impossible. However, thanks to AI, thanks to Claude, and because we also use Flink, and Flink connect with the Claude 4.0, and so it's really good at the coding. And so they use OpenCV and Python to create the whole system where it can detect your facial expression, can analyze the distance between your eyelids and your mouth, and when you get really tired, and give you a warning. And I think because I mentioned the whole process, you do notice AI is here and there support them. Like, but however, there's one thing that we notice: all of this thinking, the thoughts actually came from the kids, and they thought about, I'm going to solve these issues. And because of AI, they have more confidence to explore further and to really turn their abstract idea into concrete, like a prototype. Before, without AI, probably this is going to take like months, and we might just end up as like, oh, we have this idea, we're not going to make it. And now thanks to AI, because as a new form of the labor, and really support them, as we joke, as the extra free staff of their startup company. And so they can have like this really concrete ideas prototype. And now they're working with one of the incubators in China, trying to take this product into the market.
Oh my goodness. So it's gone all the way to becoming potentially a real product. Now, I've really enjoyed what you've shared there because I think often with work that we're doing, especially within AI, it's not always obvious to teachers that very strong connection to opportunity and equity. I'm hearing very clearly from you that the initial ideation, the thoughtfulness has to come from the students first. So we know that the originator of the idea is coming from the students, even if their ideas are supported by AI, but they are thinking, what do I need in my context, which is an incredibly gentle and equitable approach, which can allow students to have a voice. And I love that step where doing research in AI, but then supporting it with their own real world first-hand research. That is a step which again it confirms the engagement of the students and the originality of the work. You've got all these different pieces taking place, and it sounds like the kids have come up with something really fantastic. Um, One thing I'd like to just give you a little bit of a moment to share about, because I think this is normal to you, but for many teachers this is amazing. But what were some of the specific things you did with language to ensure that all students had access to this project? If you could share with us a little bit what you did with your team.
Yeah. So this program actually is bilingual, and so we want to make sure that ensure the equity of the language access, and with all of the curriculum content, because designed by myself, so with all instructed in both Mandarin as well as English. And on
Mhm.
top of this, we have like two teaching facilitators because we try to be very mindful of the terminology we use. Um, they are not teachers; they're learning alongside with the students. So they're teaching facilitators. Like a lot of them probably like they we heard very often people would say like teaching facilitators would say in the classroom like, oh, I don't know, let's explore this together. And
Mhm.
both of them like they are bilingual speakers. And one of the facilitators, their first language is Mandarin, the other one is English, and they work well together because they were colleagues at the CIS already. And in this way, we try to ensure that students could get access to both languages. We
Mm.
also know that we want to give students the opportunity to practice the other language which they feel less comfortable to work on. So when we try to group students, we're very mindful. We know somebody who's very comfortable speaking English. We will
Yeah.
group them with somebody who's very comfortable speaking in Mandarin. And in that way, it can give them a little bit to practice both languages. So that's the way that we do it.
Okay. So we've got that aspect. We've got the thinking and the agency. We've got the language and access, which is very important in the context that you're teaching. And then there's one last piece which I want to give space for people to be aware of. But what was some of the care that you took with your actual selection of teachers and facilitators to lead this project? A point of equity you had in this project for the teachers. What was it that you made available to all of them and ensured for this project?
So for teachers, we did all of the trainings for them. And before the program was 2 weeks only, but before the program, we did a 2 months training. And so the teachers all did the different training, went through the courses. And the other part is about platforms. So with the platforms and tools, we make sure that teachers could all teaching facilitators could all get access to all of these platforms and they get a chance to play around, to explore. And on top of this, even the curriculum is designed by myself, but we give teaching facilitators the autonomy. They'll be like, this doesn't work in the classroom. And I need to adjust a little bit like this because we trust them and we we recruited them and so we know that they have the capability to offer the best learning experience for the students. So that's why when they want to make adjustments, we always try our best to support them as well.
Well, this is a wonderfully comprehensive project. What I would just quickly ask here is for if there was a final takeaway, a key thing which is really perhaps close to your heart or you felt was really impactful during this project. But for someone who's only got 30 seconds or so, what might be a key takeaway that you'd like to leave them with or some resources to point them in the direction of?
Yeah, so I think the key takeaway for me for working on this program, which we're actually working on the next years now, I think is to give students opportunities. Give students opportunities to explore with their interests, give them enough trust, give them autonomy, let them to explore. Meanwhile, keeping all of the learning process transparent. We embrace AI in this program and we made it very clear to students. But we also want to make the collaboration between students and AI visible. And so in that way, we could ensure every student would have opportunities to think instead of using AI to replace their thinking.
Okay, well, thank you so much. For anyone who's listening here who isn't already familiar with Cora and her work, I strongly recommend adding her on LinkedIn. She regularly shares these amazing resources which can support you in delivering AI both equitably and in ways which line up with the various international curriculums that we're using, such as the IB, and checking our things like GDPR. Um, Thank you, Cora, so much for sharing with us today. There's a wealth of things. Uh, but for our listeners, yes, just like I said, I'm going to place some links in the description so that they can connect with you, Cora, and explore some of your ideas and the work you've been doing and maybe reach out. And for everyone, thank you for watching or listening. And I will see you on our next episode of DEIJ Hot Takes. Cora, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Daryl.